See, an SUV today is a very slippery term. Anyone's making anything and calling it an SUV. But even today, if you want a true blue SUV, that means one that can take you off the beaten path and has four-wheel drive, then there is only one option and that's the Mahindra Thar.
You see, I heard you speaking there about a true blue SUV and I think you're wrong. This is the Bolero Neo. It might not have the all-wheel drive that your Thar has, but this also has a body-on-frame construction, it's rear-wheel drive, and it has a mechanically locking differential. So, I can bet you that as far as that can go, this can go too.
You sure about that?
Yep.
And why don't we try that out? I'm going to be doing some bit of Sunday morning off-roading. That's why I have the Thar here with me. Why don't you follow me and see if you can catch up?
You'll be surprised. Let's go.
Yep. Alright, I don't know where Karan is getting his confidence from, man, because my Thar, it comes with the option of a petrol engine and a diesel engine, a manual transmission and an automatic transmission, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, even four-wheel drive low. On top of that, you get bigger wheels, all-terrain tires. I mean, this thing is pretty much built from the showroom to just take you off-road, and you'll be confident in the Thar because it's offering you so much. I mean, yeah, you will not require all these things all the time. Like 90% of the time, you will only drive in two-wheel drive mode and you will not have any use for those all-terrain tires. But when the situation gets tricky, when you actually want to take it off-road, at that point of time, you will not think twice. In the Bolero Neo, you will have to summon up all your skill, all your courage to probably go through an obstacle. In this, you just have to shift a lever and you're done. And then there's the fact that the Thar, it just doesn't look cool on a trail doing off-roading bits. It looks cool even standing in your driveway. I mean, there are very few cars that draw as much attention as the Thar does. And the Thar is not even a sports car or a fast car in that sense. So, I mean, that's also a big plus. Also, all these things I mentioned, that the automatic transmission, it makes the Thar a more usable car in the city. I mean, the Neo, it's only giving you a manual transmission. So if you want that convenience of an automatic, if you want that refinement, if you want that smoother driving experience, you can only find in the Thar. Even the engines over here, they're like the petrol option is there first of all, which you do not get in the Neo. Secondly, the diesel is also so much more refined, it's so much more torquey that city driving, it just becomes a breeze. Even on the highway, this engine will just pull and you will not feel the need for any more grunt. The Thar is just walking all over the Neo in all aspects. When it comes to city driving, when it comes to highway driving, and obviously when it comes to off-roading, there is no competition. Okay, now I know a lot of you will be in the comment section going that, the Thar is so much more expensive than the Neo. And yes, there I have to give it to you. It is actually a more expensive car, and even we feel that it's slightly overpriced. Let me tell you one thing, something that I told you in the very beginning. If you want an SUV, and an SUV with a capital S, a capital U and a capital V, that means a true blue SUV, then there is nothing apart from the Thar that you can actually get this side of 20 lakhs. I mean, yeah, you go above that and you get a lot more cars that can do a lot more terrain, that can take on a lot more terrain than this. But this side of 20 lakhs, it's only the Thar that is built to do this. Not that it can do this. Yes, the Neo is probably keeping up, but the Thar is built to do all of this, and you can do it day in and day out, and it will handle that. It will not fall apart. It is built to take in all of that abuse so that it just works. And yes, I will not be driving it off-road every day or whatever, but it just has that extra added cool factor, that ego boost that makes me smile in the morning when I look at the Thar in my driveway. And that is something that the Neo will never be able to even come close to replicating. Because yes, the Neo is a practical car, but the Thar, it's a cool car.
Okay, so I know in the Thar, Dhruv must be telling you guys about how his car has 4-wheel drive, it's got 4 low, 4 high, all that off-road goodies. But the Bolero Neo, even though it really doesn't have all that, it has the bare bones right. So it has the Scorpio derived chassis, the old Scorpio, not the new Scorpio that we're going to get sometime soon. So it also has a mechanically locking differential, and that makes it very capable off-road. So in the trail that we're tackling today, we've tackled some rocks, there's some loose sand and all that. So even the MLD hasn't really come into play. The MLD is automatic. It detects if one of the rear wheels is slipping more than the other, and then engages to lock both wheels together. We haven't really used it, and I'm pretty sure in the Thar also he hasn't really had to engage 4-wheel drive too much. This is not a very serious trail, but when the going gets rough, that MLD will really help you in sticky situations. Then let's talk about the engine on the Bolero Neo. So this is a 3-cylinder 1.5 litre diesel engine. It's the only engine you can get on the Bolero Neo, and it's only available with a 5-speed manual transmission. There's no automatic and there's no petrol. And while the petrol thing missing can be excused, I feel like if this had an automatic, it would make it suitable for a lot more people buying the Bolero Neo in the city. Now, aside from that, this engine is actually very tractable. There's so much low down torque. I am doing less than 10 kilometers per hour now in first gear. In fact, I'm going up quite a steep incline right now. It's got a lot of rocks, and I don't really need to modulate the clutch. It's got so much torque that it just goes on its own momentum. So all of that makes the Bolero Neo's engine very tractable, very useful off-road. But it also makes it very handy in the city. You don't really need to keep shifting down gears for overtakes, and it also makes the engine fairly efficient. So you can stay low down in the RPM range, stay in a higher gear, and save on fuel while also having the availability of torque when you do need to make an overtake. Now, this being a 3-cylinder engine, it's not the most refined unit in the world. When you do push it closer to the red line, which is a fairly low 4,500 RPM, the engine does get quite gruff and quite loud. Low down in the RPM range, it's actually not too bad. There are some vibrations in the cabin, but it's not too bad. But of course, it's not as refined as something like a 4-cylinder that the Thar has. Now, this 5-speed manual is quite far away from any of the other modern compact SUVs. It's got really long throws. The clutch travel is also very long. The clutch is not the lightest. So in the city, in stop-start traffic, this does get a little cumbersome. Out here in the off-road, you don't really need to be shifting too many gears, so it's not bad. Of course, like I said, the availability of an automatic would make the Bolero Neo a lot more practical, and it would of course be our choice if you were buying a Bolero Neo. So now, before we talk about ride quality, let me mention that this engine is actually very, very efficient. We've been doing a lot of off-roading, and the average fuel economy readout is 14 kmpl, which is fantastic. The even more surprising figure is that the range is 727 kilometers. The distance to empty is 727 kilometers, and this is not even on a full tank. We have 3/4 of the tank left, and we can still do over 700 kilometers, which is fantastic. It makes highway cruising a breeze. You can fill up a full tank and probably do a long highway cruise and then come all the way back without having to fill up again. So now let's talk ride quality. Now, of course, out here in the off-road on these rocky trails, you do get thrown around a little bit, but the Bolero Neo, it still feels indestructible. It has that feeling that it is a true blue SUV. When you hit bumps, when you hit a rock, the Neo doesn't feel like it's saying, oh no, I don't want to take some more. It feels like it's saying, yes, give me some more of that. And that's a great reassuring feeling to have when you're thrashing it about. Of course, out on the road, this really flattens out bumps, it flattens out potholes. And while the Thar feels a little unsettled, thanks to its very short wheelbase and large all-terrain tires, the Neo, it feels very planted. It does move around a little bit. This is still a body-on-frame SUV, but this is very planted, very secure. But the way it flattens potholes and makes light work of rough patches of road is fantastic. The Bolero Neo, it really does feel indestructible from behind the wheel. Now, in terms of the driving position, also the Bolero Neo is very nice. These seats, they do feel a bit firm at first, but they're actually very comfortable and very supportive, and they might actually be even better than the softer seat that some other cars might have on longer journeys. And then this also has an armrest. I've folded it up for the off-road for better maneuverability, but this armrest also helps, so you can stick it into the 5th gear on the highway and rest your arm here. So that's pretty cool as well. The visibility is also great. You don't get the same feeling that you're sitting on top of a building like you get in the Thar, but the Neo still has a very good riding position. For reference, you're still sitting above cars like the Jeep Compass. You're not exactly above something like the Toyota Fortuner, but you're actually not that far away. When you pull up next to one of those big SUVs at a red light, the Neo actually feels on par with those. Now to end, I must say that the biggest advantage of the Bolero Neo is the fact that it's a normal, everyday, usable, practical SUV. The Thar, it's a weekend toy, a lifestyle choice, but the Neo, it has usable 5 seats. There's also 2 jump seats in the back if you need to carry those 2 extra passengers at some point in time, which makes it very practical, very easy to use, and your family won't really hate you for buying the Neo. You can still use it, you can still ferry around people in comfort. Speaking of comfort, the Neo actually has a fantastic air conditioning system. It's really hot outside today. It's the peak heat, peak summer season in Delhi, and the Neo's cabin is cool as a cucumber. So the air conditioning system on the Neo is fantastic, and like I said, it is still practical, it is still usable. So if you live in a city or a village where the roads aren't too great, the Neo is a fantastic choice if you still need to ferry around people. So the Thar is definitely objectively a better off-roader. When the going gets really rough, it's the Thar that will come out smiling on the other side. But the Bolero Neo is actually very good. Okay, the trail we're doing today is not the trickiest, but it's also not easy. There's quite a lot of rocks here, and this trail is actually probably tougher than you would encounter on most of your drives in your Thar or even your Bolero Neo. So in terms of that, the Bolero Neo takes it very easily. Like I said, the mechanical locking differential hasn't really even engaged, and we've not really had a moment where I've had to reverse or come back up a mountain. It's not scraped its belly anywhere, so the ground clearance is good. So the Neo basically can tackle most of the off-road of the rough stuff that you take it to. Of course, you can't really go dune bashing without 4-wheel drive, but that's okay. You really need to ask yourself, how often would you be using the 4-wheel drive system? And to be honest with you guys, for most of you, the answer is barely even 1% of the time. What you need on most off-road sections, on most rough sections, is solid underpinnings, a body-on-frame chassis, a rear-wheel drive setup, and of course that mechanically locking differential. And the Bolero Neo, it checks all of those boxes.
Check my rearview mirror and Karan's still there. Yeah, kudos to him for keeping up, but I think I need to tell Karan what I've told all of you, because he's very adamant that the Bolero Neo is the better car. So why don't I just pull over and settle this once and for all. So Karan, really surprised you were keeping up, man.
Don't tell me this was your off-road trail.
Yeah, this is what I do every Sunday morning.
This didn't even engage its MLD. I'm pretty sure you were in 2-wheel drive the whole time.
Yeah.
The Neo had absolutely no trouble keeping up. As you can see, I never got stuck. I was right behind you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see why you would probably buy that. But you know what? Let me tell you something about the Thar. The Thar, it gave me so many options. It gave me so much of choice. I mean, right now I have the petrol version with me here and the automatic, but it's just allowing me to pick and choose everything that I want. With the Neo, the problem is that you're getting one option from the factory and that is it. Like, you either like it or you don't like it. With here, okay, you don't want the diesel engine, you take the petrol. You don't want the manual transmission, you take the automatic. You want to drive it in 2-wheel drive, you want to drive it in 2-wheel drive, you do that. You want to drive it in 4-wheel drive, you do that. So I think the Thar is spoiling me that way. And when I get to like some really hairy part, like some part where I would not be confident as like a regular civilian driving a car, then the 4-wheel drive just steps in and does that for me, man. I don't know how you would do that on the Neo.
So that's definitely true about the Thar. The Thar also looks great. It also gives you that ego boost. But for most people, I'm saying for 95% of buyers who think they want an SUV for that rough stuff, the Neo is more than capable. So that MLD, it will help you out in sticky situations. If you have a wheel articulation situation, that MLD will help you out. The rear wheel drive setup is also great. The ladder frame construction is also fantastic. So the Neo is a great choice if you live in a city, if you live in a place where there's bad roads, if you're going to be traveling on really bad roads very often. The Neo is fantastic. The ride quality is brilliant. Ride quality is probably better than this also. Yes, there's only a diesel engine, but it's a very efficient diesel, so that should help in the city as well. There is only a manual, of course, and automatic would have helped in the city, so that is a minus point. But the Neo is actually the better, more practical choice. It's also got 5 proper seats, which the Thar really doesn't have. and there's also those two jump seats at the back. So the Neo is definitely more practical. It's also more affordable. You can't really compare these apples to apples because there is a bit of a price difference. Yes, if you really want to do serious off-roading, the Thar is the choice. But I think for most people, the Neo is more than enough.
Well, you heard it straight from the man that the Thar is the better car. So yeah, on that end, let's end this video. What did you think about these two cars? Did you think the Neo was the better choice or the Thar was the better choice? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, if you like the video, do hit that like button, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel.
channel.